Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, Teresa's Crafty Cabana. Today I'm still working on some Christmas ornaments with some Christmas papers I had Gelli printed. I'm getting my inspiration from Pinterest and trying to see if I can replicate the different items that I'm finding that look like fun ornaments to try. I had printed some red paper, so I'm going to try this poinsettia. First I'll show you how I made my paper. I had some stamps. I also used these little wood pieces from Dollar Tree. I think these were from last year. They may be around this year. I just haven't been to the stores to see. And then some red paint. This is just craft paint, and it's kind of a deeper red. When I do my holiday reds, I prefer the kind of bright, deeper red. And I'm just doing the one color for this first layer. I've got this little gingerbread wooden piece, and I'm just going to use him to stamp a design onto this 8 by 10 inch Gelli plate. As I stamp, the paint kind of builds up on this little wooden piece, so I use my roll-off paper to kind of get some of that extra paint off. Then I let that dry, and I'm going to come in with some pearl white. It's kind of like a white pearl color paint. And I'll use this as it's still wet to pull up this print. I'm using copy paper here, 24 pound. I'll link it in the description. And this is easiest for me to print on and turn into multiple types of projects. So this is typically my paper of choice. And I knew that this was going to be a project that would require folding, so I did want to test it to see if this folds nicely. So I've got my little gingerbread men with the silver, but I wanted to add another layer. This time I'm going to do a variety of reds. I think just this burgundy color, and then I'll do a little bit of a wine color red, and I'll just make an ombre with those two colors. Again, this is just cheap craft paint. You can use much nicer paints like golden fluid or Liquitex, and I'm sure you'd get much nicer prints. I actually wanted to use the craft paints because I didn't know how these were going to turn out, and I didn't want to waste these prints if they were like really nice. So I thought I'd try them with my craft paints first. That way if they didn't turn out, it wasn't a big deal. Here I'm using my stamp. It's just a candy cane with a little bow, two candy canes together. So I thought that would make a nice little background as well if I created a little design. So for most of these, I'm just creating a pattern using the same stamp over and over, but making it into a pattern. Now there's some designs that can fit inside of this pattern, so I've got this little peppermint from the same stamp set, and I'll just go into some of those areas that look like they need just a little bit more of a design, and I'll add those little peppermint candies. The idea for me on this particular print is I want to remove quite a bit of the red because I still want that design to show through from the gingerbread men on my first layer. So to pull this print, I'm going to use this gold. It's Americana Enchanted. Kind of a really nice gold, but it's also kind of a transparent gold, so you can see through it. I'm just going to layer that right back on top of those gingerbread men. I am using my Gelli print or Gelli plate placement tool that I made, and I'll link in the description how I made that using I guess it was a Dollar Tree easel from a few years ago. I will also link how to make one with a Dollar Tree frame. So here is the second layer on top. You could still see those gingerbread men, but they aren't as vibrant. And then I do have those gold little candy canes and little peppermints. So the paper is now cut down and ready to turn into my ornament. First, I'll start by cutting it into the pieces that I need. So I cut it down. This paper was 8 inches. What I needed from this were 4 pieces that measured 3 inches on one end, the long end, and 2 inches on the shorter end. And then for there, I just put those other pieces aside. I could make some more poinsettias from the leftover paper. So to create this, you start by taking your longer half and folding it in half lengthwise. And then you use your bone folder to crease it. Then you open it up and then you take each corner and you fold it in towards the center line, creating a triangle. And you fold the other side as well to create almost like a larger triangle at the corner tip. Then you repeat this on the other side. If your little triangles don't match up perfectly, you can kind of just keep manipulating them until you get them the same length across so that they match up nicely. Then what you'll do after you have this is you'll fold each side in towards that center line. And this is why it doesn't really matter if you have the print on both sides of the paper. You won't really notice it that much. You'll notice it a little bit when you turn your poinsettia around after it's created. So it's up to you if you want to print on both sides so you don't have any white showing. I decided not to, and I could see it working nicely either way. So here you're going to fold it in half. And I do use my bone folder at each fold just to make sure I'm getting a really good crease. And here you fold it in half again, lining up those 2 pointy tips. And those are all the folds to create your poinsettia. All you have to do is just repeat this. So we had a total of 4 pieces. You're going to repeat this for your next 3 pieces. So here we have 2 of them completed, and you can start to see how this is going to look. So I've got the next one, 3 of them completed, and then the 4th one. Next we're going to look at the green paper that I made during my jelly print session. I just took a little piece off of my end that I had cut off for another project, the Christmas tree project, which I'll link at the end of this video. And I just created the leaves using the exact same folds. My leaves ended up being just a tiny bit smaller than the flowers. It doesn't have to be, you can do them the exact same size. It was just all the scraps that I had left and I didn't want to waste it. Now I used some double stick tape And I'll add it to just this little area so you can see where this fold is. You don't want it to cover the opening there. So just where that little fold is where you're going to add your tape or your glue. So just right in this area here. And then I just put tape on both sides. Now as I was doing this was actually my first time doing it. I realized you didn't have to put the tape on both sides on the outside. Here on the inside where it folds closed, you do want to put a piece of tape or glue. Then you just press it together. Just making sure the pointy tips line up. And then you just repeat that for all of the other pieces. So I started by folding in each piece, putting that tape there. I would recommend using wet glue or hot glue for this. The tape worked for the video okay, but for the long run, the tape didn't hold very well. And it could be, I used the Dollar Tree double stick tape, so that could be part of the problem, versus the scrapbook.com double stick tape. So if you have, I think it's that red tape double stick that's really, really strong, you'd probably have a better time keeping these together. I don't know if it was the paint. You know how when something's painted, sticky things maybe don't stick to them as well as, because it's not as porous as like a regular piece of paper. So I would just say maybe try a glue that you know works really well. This worked okay for me filming, but I'll probably go back through and do a little bit of hot glue in between each of those, because right here when you open up your poinsettia and stick it all together, I was trying to keep all my little petals together, but in time those little petals fell apart just using the double stick tape. So my recommendation, use a stronger glue or a glue that you know will hold up. And then I've got my little green leaf pieces, and I did the same thing where I added some sticky tape to the sides. Now I realized I didn't have anything to hang my poinsettia with, and I wanted this to be an ornament. I just took some of my gold and white twine, made a little knot and a loop. Now I had already stuck my flower together, so my petals, so I didn't stick it in there. What I did was I stuck mine through where the leaf attaches to the petal. And I just trimmed off the extra twine. To line mine up, I actually did my leaves at an angle to follow the line of the petals. I don't know if this is the right way or not. I couldn't tell from the instructions really online. So I think this is a choose your own adventure, however you want it to look. I had my leftover tape like sticking out, so I just used my nail to kind of press it towards the flower. And I repeated that on the other side. To avoid this, you may just want to trim off a little corner as you add it to your little leaf piece before you adhere it. Now, because I had my piece of twine here, it wasn't holding closed to the petal, so I just added another piece of tape to the petal, and that held it closed. I ended up making a total of 3 little leaf pieces, and I added those in the different corners just to kind of make it look like it all goes together. You don't have to, you can add as many or as little of the leaves as you want. To put a little decoration in the center, I had these really fun iridescent like little bubble stickers, and I just picked the smallest size. And just kind of, they have some sticky backing to them, so I just stuck that in the center. Again here, I would recommend probably a dab of hot glue just to make sure that doesn't go anywhere. Especially if it's something you want to give as a gift to someone. You don't want it falling apart. And then here's with the 3 leaves. So I kind of spaced mine out. Now because of the leaves, the way that I adhered them, they stick down a little bit. So the flower kind of pops up, and you don't have to do it this way. You can do it where the leaves are the same line as the poinsettia. And you can maybe even do them a little bit more in between the petals. I'd say this is something where you can just kind of play around with what you think looks good. And also you could add some glitter on the tops of those flower petals. You can add glitter inside the petals or around the tips of them. Whatever you think is fun and beautiful. So I hope you enjoyed watching this one. I think this was an easy one to make and would be fun to make with kids as well. Let me know what you think. Would you try this one, or have you? And did you find it easy to follow? Alright, stick around for my next video, which will have another ornament with a jelly print. In the meantime, happy crafting, y'all!